Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and tonight for TLDR, TLDR, of course, being the Locker Room Daily Report, TLDR for short, CNUP is here. And this is kind of an open invite for anybody who might be listening or watching. If you become a registered Jedi on the Discord server, connected to the live experience on live.pirillo.com, powered by StreamYard, I've kind of made an open invite to anybody to basically join in voice chat, and we've had a few people do that kind of independently. But for things like TLDR or just general tech talk, it's kind of I'm not saying open mic time, but I'm down with exploring that. I had a discussion with Glendon. He's going to start setting a schedule, and I dovetailed with Toxic Doom because Glendon mentioned that he had a good rapport with him. Even Mystery Goat is prone to kicking off those kinds of conversations, and I would love to see more of that, because my hope is to be able to at least bring people together. That's the least I feel like if I'm doing anything, it's not just farting around at my desk, but doing my best to bring people together and to stage these conversations. So if you're interested in one thing, talking about one thing or another on a regular basis, like I'm saying, it's kind of a general open mic. And yeah, you're more than welcome. Just like CNUP has got his own Twitch channel, you're more than welcome to do that, of course, on your own. The hope is kind of coalescing around this kind of 24/7 experience is that, much like MakerDeck, it kind of becomes a common area for people to have those types of shared experiences and conversations. So speaking of CNUP, let me make sure I get him a shout out before too long, an official Twitch shout out command if you happen to be watching this live. I have not even uploaded yesterday's TLDR because, quite honestly, I'm not even sure how many people listen to the archives. I think most of the people who tuned in are actually tuned in during the actual broadcast. So for today, and by the way, CNUP is a fellow geek, probably more of a geek than I am. He's a server nerd. He's I'm not. I'm the opposite. I'm on the desktop. He's in the server.
Yeah, I've been working in the field for many years.
Yeah, I know.
And different aspects of the field, right? Because I started as electronics engineering technician. Did that for a little while, and I always had the computer side of it, even when I went through through college the first time around, because I went in college twice to get 2 different diplomas, right? And then certifications and stuff after that. So I went in that route, but I was in that cusp of, and not to get too far into my whole background because I've talked about it lots before, but just basically I worked in the field for a short little while, and the company I worked for, I eventually got laid off on. And a lot of electronic jobs, they're around manufacturing, and that's just not here in the Western side of the world, right? So being an electronics technician, and then we're in this whole thing now where when something breaks, you buy new.
Yep.
Right. So
I do.
Like the computer shops, people buy new laptops, they buy new phones, they buy new refrigerators, they buy new everything. Nothing gets much repaired too much anymore. Maybe some parts of appliances you'll give it a try, but if you have even a washer that's 12 years old, you start thinking, well, they got to troubleshoot it first, and that's going to cost me money and I don't want it to be told that you can't do anything. So a lot of people just, it's time to get a new one, right?
I mean,
it's kind of sad in that aspect, right? But because we're throwing stuff away, but it is.
But if it doesn't work,
mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, like I said, with the that whole thing with repair shops, electronic repair shops, and all that sort of stuff is just not here. And the only place you really can get jobs like that, is now working in a manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see some of that stuff come back here, given the problems of today in the certain, I won't name them, but countries that we're having issues with, right? So, and we are seeing some of that, because I think I saw, is it Intel is building a bunch of manufacturing facilities back in the States?
What is it? I think the
just
IDM 2.0 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is talking
which is
about.
Nice to see.
Well, it is nice to see, and I do hope Intel survives. Although they gave a lot of us, they said, "All right, well, sorry, we don't have."
But that's everywhere now. Have you seen that?
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Has it ever changed in this short while?
Yeah, hang
when
on.
COVID was happening, you could
hang on. CNUP, just a second. Darth Gallon, thank you for resubscribing. the open mic option is extended to you as well. So Cena, yeah, you're right. No, continue your thought
All I
there.
was just going to say was just, you know, during COVID, everybody was getting displaced because people are like, you had a lot of time on your hands, a lot of people that couldn't, like, luckily I could work all the way through because I was working from home anyway, right? But there were lots of people who were staying home and then reevaluating their life and saying that, you know, I don't want to go back to that job anymore. And then so there was a lot of changes. Other people were like, well, I don't want to live in the big city anymore. You know, I want to be where I'm a little more free or wherever else, you know. So a lot of people got displaced and a lot of people were moving around, and that opened up a lot of opportunities for jobs because everybody was working from home. So it's like I could still live in the city that I live in, but yet get a job that's in a large city, you know,
and
a
tech
bigger
made
city.
it possible. Remote,
Yeah.
I mean, remote. The
And you can still do
technology
that,
was
right?
there.
Mm-hmm. But because of all the displacement and stuff that was going on, they were having a hard time holding people. And I actually rode that wave pretty good because my employer actually gave me a couple raises during that time frame because they were losing people, just because the offers were great.
Yeah.
But my God, fast forward, like, you know, a little bit further, and now it's like layoff. Well, I'm staying where I am. I'm gonna stay put.
And we brought it up. I think we brought it up. Like, who is it? IBM basically saying that they're replacing like thousands of jobs with AI, and this is going to happen. It's not a joke. Even at the bus stop, someone was saying, "Yeah, we're writing all of our content with AI with ChatGPT now." I'm like, what hope does that end of the spectrum necessarily have, right? Because if that's not 10 years from now, that's today. That's not pie in the sky, that's absolute. Getting replaced by
Things are
technology.
changing so fast now. Like we thought it was fast before.
No.
And digital disruption, you know, we talked about that for quite a few years before COVID and all that. And now it's just like, you thought that was bad, you know, like Uber putting the taxi services on their head and all these other different services that were coming up. And, you know, like, and now it's, you know, like even the video store with Netflix and, you know, all the streaming services. Like, so you see all these things that were considered digital disruptions and killed a lot of companies in that. But now it's just like, no, that was just a warm up. Now the gas pedal's getting pressed, right? And
well, see, it's compounded, right? This the advent of AI replacing, you know, all these people, all these mechanisms. I mean, I'm seeing these wacky ass videos being posted, and they look like trash, but like they look like trash today. A year from now, it's going to look more accurate. 2 years from now, even more accurate. So you look at all these content creators, they're going to be out of a job next. So then what happens? What happens when that comes into the mix, right? You're no longer able to generate. People are no longer able to generate revenue the way that they were able to generate revenue before because they're easily replaced. Someone with, you know, an idea and the ability to execute the idea doesn't even need the talent anymore. They just need to know how to handle the algorithm. And people are doing that today, but not necessarily at scale. Like it's not turnkey. Well, now we're talking about something like that being turnkey. So yeah, it's no one can escape this. No one. Even if you're, well, my job is say whatever you're saying to yourself, the people around you, you know, their technology is displacing. But that's the tale of time, right? Technology advances, it replaces jobs. New jobs and new opportunities are potentially created. But where's our runway? What do we have? What are you supposed to do next? If even people that are getting paid right now to be what do they call them? AI prompters, right? The people who know how to write to get AI to give you the information that you need. That is going to be automated like that. So they're going to be out of a job. So where do we go?
If you're in the, you know, if you're working in that space, like those type of people would already know, like this is a limited time offer and would be looking for some. I mean, a lot of those people are like developers anyway, so they'll move from one thing to the other. But
in fact,
you know, when code starts writing code for itself,
and that's what I'm saying. Where do you
go? Then it doesn't require such a, you know, but like a professional at it, right? Like you get somebody that's been to university for 5 years and is, you know, some sort of professional web developer or whatever else, right? Well, you get somebody like me that just kind of knows it, you know, a little bit here and there of some stuff and that, but it, you know, my tech is obviously in other avenues in the field, right? But if it makes it very easy like that, and it does all the heavy lifting for me, and then I can look at the code and just kind of like just do a couple little tweaks to it and whatever else, then you really don't need professionals. So then what do they, what will happen is that, well, I mean, there'll be more, depending on who's left in the company, will end up taking on a little more work, but the jobs will be gone for the people that had a full-time job in that specific thing, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you can't, the ecosystem breaks because you're eliminating without, you're eliminating without necessarily compensating for that elimination, right? The electric company doesn't care, right? They're just looking for their bill to get paid.
Yep.
So then you say, well, then you have to live within you're wise to live within your means, but when you're not able to even, I had this discussion. In fact, I did post something on LinkedIn, although I think tomorrow's post on LinkedIn is like, I do more doom scrolling on LinkedIn than I ever did on Twitter. Like, it just, because like, it's depressing, quite honestly. It's interesting, it's fascinating, but it's also at the same time, like, why I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I'm wasting my time looking for jobs that don't exist, or jobs that don't pay what I would need to be able to live.
And look at the other generations here. So when there's less jobs, when there is something that's available, it's okay, it's very competitive, but who are they going to look at the most? Like, people that already know this stuff. So it's even going to be harder for the young ones coming out of university, and they're also going like, what do I go and take? What do I do?
But at the same time, we could be hit. Like, there was a job op at Microsoft that came onto my radar, and I was like, oh, that's fascinating, it's interesting. I'm like, and I asked if he knew the hiring manager. He said, yeah. So he and the hiring manager apparently knew of me because of the things that I've done, right? For my Gnome Decks, the event that I did for like 10 years, the tech event, right? And he said, oh, that's nice to know, but he would be overqualified for this. Which, what does that mean? Does that mean that it doesn't pay enough? Oh, I get that. Trust me, it wouldn't. I saw the salary range. I'm like, this is at the high end. It wasn't even at my low end. I'm like, I get that. Yeah. But does it also mean that somebody else's job is a threat? Like, if someone says you're overqualified, or are you too old, or what is it? What does that term mean? So, and every business is going to have to make up its own mind, and everyone's got different budgets and different values ascribed to different positions. But still, I would be qualified for that position, but I can't because I'm overqualified. So what's
I don't know how that'll be in the future, though, if there's a lot of people without work, if they'll be that picky with that anymore. Because usually why they're picky about overqualified is because they look at you as, well, you're using this as a stepping stone. You're not going to be happy with this wage. You're not going to be, you'll be here for a little while and put in a little bit, but then you'll be off again. So you're not going to, they look at you as not long term. And if they're looking for somebody that they want, that's going to give them the plus 5 years, right? Usually that's the golden standard nowadays with work, right? They when they go to hire, they're looking for somebody that will stay for 5 years and not going to take off within a year or so, right?
Well, that would be, I tried that at Intel. I didn't make it. I made it 4 years, and that's done. That is officially wrapped. But and I'm very grateful for the severance. Better, I will say this. Even though Intel let go of a ton of people, thousands of people, like, I would still go back to work for them because of how I was let go. Like, it was very. Other people have had nightmare stories about it, and Intel.
So are you officially off the books now, Chris?
Oh yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
So you got your severance, everything. You're done.
Yeah, my final severance deposit was on Friday, just the other day. So and I'm saying that it's going to hit hard, but at the same time, I'm making tweaks. I'm making things. I can't. It's kind of funny. Some people say, well, Chris, I always see you buying toys. I'm like, dude, if I did not have toy therapy, I'm not. I gotta be careful about how I say this. Like, I would go insane. Yeah. Like, I would just be wrapped up in just stress and problems and adulting, and you can't do that. You have to be able to do something that where you can escape the problems that you face, right? So, and plus, I got this. This is I blame GC Laredo, he does Transformer stuff on the live stream here. But this is $14.99. The Studio Series Coronation Starscream, and I kind of
Really?
I
That's
like
pretty cheap, eh?
yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is like I would see it, and I'm like I can't do it. I got to get anything and everything that I get at some kind of discount. And even 3D printing it's I'm doing it, right? But like I didn't even have the mental bandwidth to do it recently as much as I had in the past, because it's like it just takes too much thinking, too much work to be able to do it, and I couldn't enjoy it. And I don't like doing something.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, it's time to take a break.
Right. And so inevitably, and people find that, with me, even though I understand technology and I appreciate what it does, I'll be honest, and I know Lenovo's not listening. They sent the laptop to me, but it would mean nothing to me if they sent it if I didn't have context. I mean, it's nice. I love the keyboard, how it glows and all that, and it's definitely fast. It's zippy. I love the screen. The screen the refresh rate is through the roof. What I love about this particular machine the most probably is the refresh rate, but it would mean nothing unless I had a reason to use it. Well, then I keep saying it, Jedi Survivor comes out, and I'm just like, oh, all right, there's my reason to use it, and that's how I enjoy technology. I don't enjoy just having this here. It's not.
Gotta get used to it, yeah.
Okay, cool, nice. What does it do? And so technology to me, I only enjoy it, when it provides value that I'm looking for, not as work, but to actually enjoy it, right? To actually, have it do something that I couldn't necessarily do before. So, a toy to me is different, right? This is a toy. This is a tool. This is not a toy. This is a tool that may be a gateway to entertainment, which I use it for entertainment, but it's just fundamental. They're two fundamentally different things altogether. And I tried to get it. I would get a job in the toy industry. They don't pay squat for any kind of positions that I'd qualify for.
Yeah.
Came close with Lego Group. I did.
If financing wasn't a big deal anymore, there'd be so many different things I'd probably do, right? Like, as much as I enjoy tech and the job that I have and everything, but there's levels of stress there that I don't care to have at times, like I'm responsible for an awful lot, right? So
why would I want to just deal with problems all the time? That's not a hobby to me. Dealing with problems is not a hobby. I got to deal with enough problems, stressing out about this, that, and the other thing. I'm just not looking to introduce problems. And unfortunately, that's where technology usually sits. Is like, great, that's going to be a tech support nightmare. Or like, what's going to happen when this breaks? What's going to happen with this? What's the service fee associated with it? This technology ain't what it used to be. It genuinely isn't. So, and I realize the course of this conversation is very, very relevant. I've known in my feed of at least collectors on Twitter, someone who just recently got laid off from a sales position, and apparently was a top performer for the company, and he got laid off. And he's like, yeah, he's even looking into relocating, and which is expensive. You can't. This is. I just don't understand. I mean, I guess I do understand the reluctance to accept remote work, but it just seems to me that you're just living in the past, because technology makes it possible for so many of us. It's down to personality.
It's very dependent on the culture, right? Because there's lots of companies that are reporting that it didn't work for them. They want them back. There's other ones that are just being silly and wanting, like, I know, but my sister-in-law there, she it has to go into the office, I think, twice a week. Even my sister, she has to go in like once or twice a week too, just because they're still paying rent on the office. So they feel like they're being pulled in just because it's there, so that I don't know, I guess they feel like they should be using the facility because the company had signed like a 5 to 10 year lease, right? So they're wanting to bring some back, and they're saying the face-to-face stuff, but no. But I'm very fortunate where I am, and hence why staying put for many reasons now or whatever, and not really looking around for anything.
Right.
And hopefully if everything stays good, could retire there, but who knows anymore? Like, I'm not naive with that. I've had a lot of jobs in my career of working, but they're very open to the, you know, working from home because it's worked so great for them. Like they pretty much did not miss a beat when COVID happened. We all just went home, started working, and
That's the thing.
It floored the board of directors, right? They were just like, what the, like, you know, we should be hurting and we're not, right? And so then that really looked at it, because there were a few people, you know, up in the upper management that were basically had that mindset before of you know, the bums need to be in the chairs at work, so because you couldn't possibly be able to focus at home and everything. It's like, no, we showed them that we can.
It's a matter of control.
In the culture where, in the culture where we are, it's the opposite. That we, like, a lot of us have been told, like, we need to learn to turn it off a little bit, like workaholic type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a little too easy to sit here till 5:30 because I'm just right into something. It's like, oh Jesus, you know, I really need to shut off now. But it's like, I don't want to wake up tomorrow to finish my thought on something. So, you know, but then that happens too often, and then burnout starts to happen, and you know, and they're recognizing that now.
Avoiding burnout, and that's you know, I got some headlines to get to too, but like it's like all the more reason that technology makes it more possible to not burn out, so long as you're able to manage it. And some people just don't have the ability to manage it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. But why do I have to suffer because someone else doesn't know how to manage it? I mean, honestly.
Everybody's different, right?
But speaking of everybody's different, this is probably the biggest headline to hit the screen, and you'll see, I mean, a lot of this stuff is scrolling through. In fact, during the course, I pointed out, I was mentioning a video that was floating around that was AI driven, that was just creepy as hell. Like, apparently it's gone viral, which I only saw it because it popped into my feed, but I've seen a few of them done like this. There's one called Happy Pizza Love, what's it? Huggable Love Pizza, something like, it was just a weird off English AI driven, and it was just creepy as hell. But if this is a beer commercial where it's just not right, it's like nightmare fuel. It's like, this is what you imagine your dreams, if you could like rewatch your dreams, you imagine them looking like this, right?
Okay. It's a video, sorry?
It's everything was done by AI, and it came out very I kind of wish I had it pulled up, because then I'd like to see it. I can find it. Unfortunately, I didn't bookmark it anywhere, although give me a second. That we did on Discord. If you go into the Tech News stream channel, search for beer, AI generated beer commercial. Here we go. I love that we have that. I found it. Is there? Okay, I have the video. Great. So, how can I play this back so you can see it? Oh.
Let
me move my
screen or something.
Let me move my star screen. And by the way, I'm printing little bookmarks for my daughter's May the 4th class.
Yeah, I have to see one. I haven't seen one yet.
They're very thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, very like, razor thin bookmarks.
Oh, okay. So they'll clip onto the page then, kind of thing.
Clip on, and I just did them in silver.
I was thinking just a long bookmark, but it's actually just like a clip.
Quick.
That's
clip.
Cool.
I needed something fast that I could print 50 of. So,
all
right, let's see here. Can you see my second screen? Not as easily. Let me.
Not great at all if you're.
Yeah, I'm going to turn off center stage. There we go. Okay. That'll make it easier. And then I'm going to pull up. I'm going to go full here. Oops. Let me move position. There's what I'm printing. Let me move positions here.
Oh yeah.
Again, using StreamYard here. And the link is, I'll push it in chat. Like I said, it's on Discord. Let's pull this up. You can click the link and watch it. Oh no, stop. I can't have music.
No, is it music? Yeah.
Yeah, but just look at the visual.
Check it out after then.
Yeah, just check it out. No, so I muted it, but like at a distance it looks real, right? But then you start noticing, you get closer, And
all the
things
people
are
are generated.
everything's AI. Everything. Just watch when people start. It looks like they're drinking. Like it's just.
Yeah.
It's just. It's. I mean,
It's the glossy lighting off of the skin, right?
Yeah,
Too,
but it's
you know?
everything.
Looks like
Right?
everybody's just slightly. What the heck was that?
It's just. This is all. Today we laugh at it, right? A year from now, dude, it's gonna be like, okay, a couple years from now, like, all right.
I'm
5
waiting to
years from
see
now, I'm
like
telling you,
the Twitch streamer or something that's popular, and then it's like, haha, he's not real, he's AI.
it's coming.
You know,
It is coming.
it's
It's
just gonna
coming
be
fast.
like you'll be questioning everything.
Yeah.
And,
So
and how do you? I know I'm gonna go down that road, so I'm not gonna go down it too far, but just like I don't know how we're going to handle things about like when you're trying to convict somebody with that, like when you can't leave videos anymore, how can you use video evidence anymore?
right. That's
These are huge
no,
problems,
man,
right?
serious problems that no one.
Because we've been going through a wave of the last few years where it's gotten really good with, you know, being able to convict people, you know, and everybody's
Yeah.
got a cell phone nowadays, so everybody's armed with it. Even when we get into car accidents, everybody's got dash cams. Everybody's on, like, smile, you're on camera everywhere, right?
Just assume.
But now like with this stuff coming in where it, you know, it's going to be perfected to a T, and you know that somebody AI could, you know, make me and have me saying stuff and all that and be very believable. Like how can you convict if you say so and so did this crime, and then they can come back, well, that's not true, that's not, like, I don't know how. Those are going to be quite the tech problems to try to solve. So,
You can
so
do it. So demo guy here says been trying to make a YouTube channel 100% AI generated content, scripts, audio, video. You can do that now with like cutscenes and clip art, and you can do it now. Like everything can run on AI, and that's just going to get like a year from now. There's going to be a service that makes it even more turnkey than it might be today. Like seriously, you could abstract anything and everything. Anything and everything can be abstracted. It's
well,
just,
you know, and I don't know if I want to touch on this, but you know, the little gray area of Twitch with, let's just call it hot tubs, right? So
right.
what if you generate several channels like that and they're very realistic and everything, like you can pull in revenue, right, for yourself, and none of them are real. They're fully interactive with the communities that are there. You know,
telling you, it's gonna happen.
Like we're rapidly making human beings irrelevant with everything, right?
That's what I'm saying. Where do we go? So, you know, if AI has been dominating my feed for semi-obvious reasons, and I'm very interested in where we're going to land specifically with creators. That wasn't even the big news of the day, although a new one just hit my radar. Twitter just seems to be owning the social media cycles. Apparently, it's restored free API access for verified government or publicly owned services, tweeting weather alerts, transportation updates, and emergency notifications, which is okay. That's reasonable. But apparently, in an unprompted email to an NPR reporter, Elon Musk asked if NPR planned to start posting on Twitter again, or quote unquote, should we reassign at NPR to another company? Which is, well, it's their prerogative, but that just seems like not extortion's the wrong word. They're not really extorting, but it's awfully it's kind of a threat. But I don't know. And see, here's the problem: if NPR capitulates and says, "All right, well, we'll start tweeting again," then they're setting a bad precedent. But if they basically ignore him, then people they're not going to stop sharing NPR articles. I'm sure NPR might feel a pinch, but I'd be shocked if they received a bulk of their traffic through Twitter.
Yeah.
They don't need to be there to be a part of the conversation. Even a lot of the shows that I listen to, they won't use Twitter, they'll use Facebook for a lot of that stuff. A lot of the community participation stuff, not Twitter. Twitter might be where reporters go to, you know, kind of stay in the know. But anyway, I thought that just refreshed into the timeline.
Mm.
Just now, which it's Elon's prerogative. You're playing his game now, but man, if you think that you're building your house on a castle apart from anything, there's a reason I slowed. I mean, I still post, right? I still share stuff here, there, and everywhere, but I end up spending a lot more time on Mastodon than I do on Twitter, and I find that what I share gets better traction. The same stuff. I get better traction on Mastodon than I might on Twitter, even with a fraction of the audience, because I'm only reaching a fraction of the audience on Twitter. So what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? Being there for what reason, right? Why? Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up anymore. So I pulled way back. Like I'll I think twice before sharing what it is I share, how I share it. Even MakerDeck in its velocity has decreased. And that was happening, in and around last year too. A good 6 months ago. It was not exactly what it was. So Twitter remains interesting, and I hope it finds its way. Although
I wonder what his roadmap is with it.
I don't think he has a roadmap. I think he's got an idea of what he wants to do with it.
And maybe he's not being able to communicate it well.
I think he wants to turn it into a payment exchange, but I wouldn't trust it.
No.
I would be no
what
way.
A funny
now
thing
that
to
I
try
know,
to convert it into.
it would be. I can tell you this: it certainly isn't going to make money selling subscriptions.
No.
More people would rather quit than get a subscription.
Yeah.
So that's just not a good. That's not a good sign. For a company that, it's a privately owned company at this point. It is not a public square. Despite what you might have heard, it's very much a privately owned company. He can do whatever he wants to with it.
Yeah.
But what he's doing with it is just it's nothing short of appalling. However you stand is just not. It's not a stable foundation to build upon at all. I was going to mention this topic here. Apple and Google have they've worked together again, submitting a proposed industry specification to help combat unwanted location tracking by Bluetooth devices, and they're asking for input from other companies. But basically, Apple and Google are coming together, which is quite honestly is a good thing. For a lot of different reasons. Right now, it's terribly simple to get around that. And so if and when there comes a point where there's more cross-platform support for those devices, it's going to be, I feel those devices are going to evolve to evade the tracking that happens. So that's the problem with that type of technology. I think it would solve the problem for people who use AirTags, right? That's a lot of people. Or let's say products from reputable vendors, but it's not. I don't think even in having like a notification set up in your phone or an app set up in your phone, if the tracker is programmed in such a way or constructed in such a way, this is inevitable, right? They're going to find a way around it. It's going to happen. So the answer isn't, well, just be responsible. You can't do that with technology. You can't just hand something over and say just be responsible. These are people that don't even keep their they don't know the difference between the cloud and the internet. You're in the cloud. You're already using the cloud. Yeah, you have an account. You're in the cloud. Congratulations.
Big tech can't even be responsible with it. What do they expect, like the average person, right? They've had their hands slapped enough with it too, right?
That's what I'm asking. So yeah, I'm glad to see Apple and Google working together on that. Certainly, it's a problem that would need to be would absolutely need to be solved. If only because of the prevalent use of trackers. I don't have, and I've never really had any issues with like lost luggage, but I would consider getting like an AirTag or what have you for the luggage. we have one in our daughter's backpack.
Mhm.
If only because, like, well, that way we know, like, at least where her backpack is, right?
Mhm.
Because apart from that, she's not wearing a tracker in any way.
Mhm.
And typically, no, okay, so then we know she got to school. We know where the school bus might be. We know, but that's something where, it's not surreptitiously placed
Mhm.
somewhere. So, yeah.
Mm.
Let's see here. What else do we have? Apparently a leak of the Motorola Razr 40 Ultra Foldable, HDR AMOLED 120 hertz main at 24 or 2640 by 1080 with a cover display, obviously shorter. Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, up to 12 gigs of RAM, which is, I guess foldables are a thing.
Yeah, I mean they're all doing it, like or working on it, and I mean,
But
it's
yeah,
yet to be seen if Apple's doing it too. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. There's rumors about it, but of course people make up a lot of stories with it. But I didn't think there'd be a big market with it, but who knows? I don't know what.
if the
Sometimes things
software,
take, right?
yeah, but if the software is there and the hardware can keep up, fine. I just have not seen any indication that Apple can handle that on a single slab, let alone a foldable. But that's my humble opinion.
Like the only way I ever see that it's interesting to have a foldable is because you have it phone size, and then you can unfold it, and then it's like a mini tablet. So then you're doing it all in one.
Yeah, I like
right?
the idea.
Yeah. Now, marketing, that's not so great for people that are selling both phones and tablets, right? Like you'd get the one device instead of buying two separate devices for two things.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I've got,
but if they could do that, well, it might interest me, right? Like as a next phone down the road in a few years, to just say, hey, now it's just phone's always with me, tablet isn't always with me, but sometimes it's nice if I was doing something on my phone to turn it into a tablet, get a little more screen space. Yeah, I could see somebody like say riding the bus and flipping it at the phone, and then like let's get a bigger screen and just start playing games or something, right? Like maybe it's a thing, maybe it'll be a thing. I just
in budget,
not convinced it's going to be huge. There's a market for it, they're obviously going after it, but I don't know how much money they'll make off that. Like it'd be nice to poll and see like
I'll wait.
How many people are excited for foldables?
I'll wait. Like I'll wait for I'll wait for it to have flagship-esque specs, and it's not quite there yet. Definitely not quite there. But it comes down to what the market wants, what people are able and willing to buy.
It's got to solve something though, right? The best products actually solve good problems, right? It's not just because it's fat. Because I mean, look at Microsoft, the Surface stuff, and then they had the Duos, and it was like, oh, it flips over to two screens, and it's like, okay, well, what problem is that really solving? Did I really need to have the split screen and flip it open? But if it's something like, I guess when I think of the foldable, I keep thinking of turning your phone into a tablet, right? So that would be like, okay, now I've just got my phone in my pocket, and I'm never going to buy a tablet again because it will open to a tablet size, or roughly like a iPad mini type size, right? And then back down to a phone of an XL size type phone, right?
Yeah.
That if they could do that well with, like you say, flagship specs and everything, might be pretty exciting to have, because people will be like, I'm not getting a tablet again now, but I've got one thing, right? Because it happened with the PC, right? Like, not anybody that watches us, right? They all have gaming rigs and all of that stuff, but the regular person, dropped having a PC at home when laptops became a thing and affordable, right? And it was just like laptops all the time. And then, if you needed a screen or whatever, then they go as far as getting a docking station or something like that. But so the laptop at the time replaced your desktop PC. People just didn't want that big bulky thing sitting there, or a tower, right?
Well, at this stage, I mean, I've got my main system is actually just off to the side. You can't see it in this screen. or from this view. But I mean, it's there. It's got a screen attached, but I've got it. It's basically going through a dock that powered 2 external screens. But it's very simplified that way.
With the laptop at the time, and even today, like with me for like the one that's issued to me from work, is that, you know, at home I'm always connected with like three screens attached to it, right? And that, but if I need to go in to do some data center work or whatever, and that, so it comes with me, and then it's just all my stuff's going around with me all the time, right? It's not like you have to go searching for anything. It's still your PC. You just hook up somewhere else.
See, that's the funny thing. The irony is I don't use, I use my laptop more as a desktop with the external connection than I ever use it as a laptop. Ever.
And is that a Windows-based one, or is that a Mac that you've got?
Oh, it's a Mac. I'm using a Mac OS.
What made you want to go? I guess it just doesn't matter, right? But I was just wondering why you wouldn't have went Mac Mini. But I guess in case that rare time you do want to pick it up and go, right?
It was more like, well, my option,
which you probably did just recently, right? You take that Mac with you when you went over to the
it went with me. And I didn't, honestly, I just did not want to be tethered to what I had before. Is I had 2 Macs. I had an iMac and I had a notebook computer. And then when I was kind of going, this was a couple years ago, I was like, well, I need to, my old Mac is showing signs of age. Apple had released the M1, and I'm like, well, I need to upgrade, right? And then I was kind of on the fences in terms of what it was that I'd be able to do. And you know, ultimately it worked out. What I ended up doing ended up working out, because I had 2 Macs for redundancy, but honestly, it was just more of a pain in the ass to have to manage 2 separate things. In that redundancy, it wasn't as necessary. So I was like, well, let me try just doing one system. And if anything else, I do have. Can you hear that?
That's it. That's your side, right?
That's me.
Okay. That sounded like my dog's squeak toy. I was like, is my dog down
It is
one of my dogs down there?
I just don't know what the hell's going on with it. Oh, I think Jedi must have a friend over or something. Yeah, funny. So I ended up just going down to one, just to have to manage one system, and decided, honestly, it was a solid decision. The second system, though, because I knew I want a second system for like streaming, I was like, well, running it all on one Mac, not always practical, and sometimes you need the second system. But I'm like, well, do I set up a second Mac as the streaming rig? And ultimately decided, well, I had an option to get a new PC at the time. I think it's a Tiger Lake system, the thing that's powering like the headline that's going through and all that stuff. So it's being used, it's being tapped 24/7, but it's a system that is basically out of sight, out of mind. One that
almost
probably
like a little server for you.
Yeah, kind
of set everything up and let it just run.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to put Jedi Survivor on there to play through it, just play it differently when I haven't done it yet, but when I move the Legion off the desktop, or maybe when I become, all right, I'm good with Jedi Survivor for the next little while. And this laptop.
That one got a vid card in it though, of some sort, to be able to handle the game.
There's a video card. It is I'm not even sure what's in the. It's a NUC, an Intel NUC.
Right.
So it's a couple generations old. It's ample enough to run.
I actually remember when you got that. Now that you showed the opening of it when you did get it.
Well, the thing is, I have to have OBS, a browser for StreamYard, and of course the game. Like all that overhead could add up, and I don't yet know how well it's going to play. It'll likely be 1080p gaming, which is fine. I mean, if I'm going to be capping at 30 FPS anyway, so I'm not too worried about it, as long as I'm able to pull it off. Because I played Jedi Fallen Order on this one or the previous one of the two, and streamed it, minus a web page, but hopefully that wouldn't add too much overhead on top of what I've already got. It's what I have works, and and I'm not anywhere near needing, you know, any kind of upgrades anytime soon. That's the problem with Apple sometimes. Is like, well, what I have is working well enough for today, and maybe in a couple of generations, yeah, then I'd be ready to leap after, you know, certain benefits, you know, come in tow. But it could very well again be the law of diminishing returns without, you know, any major leaps. And then as far as you know, PCs are concerned, you know, there's always a new one, you know, around new ones being cranked out, and you know, I'm lucky enough to get a review unit. Just kind of saves me the hassle. Not that I think I don't believe I would be able to run. Okay, so the camera connected to this camera that's pointed down to the printer. That's a Pixel 7 connected to the Windows PC. The screensaver looking thing that's on.
So you have a you have a USB data, like the video data is going through the cable, or you just have it for powered and it's going Wi-Fi back to your system?
Oh no, it's cabled. It's actually connected using re-incubate camo. Yeah, that's not
it. Using the cable for the data though, because I know you can.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So it's always on, like it's always charged. It's always,
well, that's probably, I should have guessed that too, because your frame rate's really good for that right now.
Yeah, no, it's clean.
Probably like on Wi-Fi it'd be a little jerky
it's on
at times.
Wi-Fi. Well, yeah, you're right. It is bypassed that particular.
Yeah, like that's really good right there. You know, that's pretty good frame rate.
No, it's a very clean feed. This one, right? You know, this primary that I've got. This is the iPhone connected to the Mac using re-incubate camo. Or no, this isn't using camo. This is using Apple's whatever the hell it is. Although, for some reason or another, it's not being recognized by Chrome again. So I can't remember what I have to do to get it to work again. So I'm actually running this video through OBS, even though I can do it natively. OBS is picking it up, but Chrome for whatever reason isn't. And I even just updated it because Chrome just released 1.13 on the desktop today, this afternoon. So I updated to that right away. For there's some small
a lot of Chrome updates lately, security ones too.
Well, you know, they're now on a monthly release cycle, which I'm fine for. It just feels like I get something, you know, cleaner. They're working on a UI refresh, and I've seen screen grabs of it. I'm like, we'll see how well this actually works in practicality. I'm one that hadn't been as concerned with the UI on Chrome to this point, but you know, they're always in a state of tweaking.
Speaking of updates, everybody that has any Apple device, do updates now, please.
Why?
There's another security patch update, and it's a patch to the security update that they had recently pushed out. So if you go there, we pushed it, or our IT security department flagged everybody and said, you really need to run this as soon as you can. There's some which is good now. They I mean, in some ways people are like, well, what's going on here? But they're getting better with just saying, just do it, trust us. Like, we're not going to discuss it too much more until unless it's out in the wild already and it's like on every web page going saying what the thing is. But this one is another one that was a little bit quiet. We've had a couple other vendors, not to do with Apple or anything like that too, that just recently they pinged us and just said, yeah, you need to upgrade as soon as possible. We can't tell you too much about it because it's not too well known, and we want to keep it that way. But just please go ahead and patch. But with any of your Apple devices here, I've updated my phone here just earlier.
Sure, I gotta hang on. Let me look at my.
Because it's like whatever the latest version was that had the security update before it. Now they've got an A after it. So it's
I've seen the A. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I've got the A on.
So it grabbed it for you
on
already?
Mac OS, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't even notify me when the original one. It didn't even notify me for that. Like I should have received some kind of notification. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah, downloading Mac OS.
So do you have it that it's downloading and updating at night? I think it came out like last night, and it's been out today, or I don't know. Maybe it did get released today, but it is very recent, like less than 24 hours since they've pushed this out, and they're recommending people do it as soon as possible. Not giving too much detail on it.
I'll be interested. God, if it's that, that big a deal.
There's some stuff with around that I think the little bits of information I got with it was because of, again, Safari. Like Apple, you need to just drop your stupid web browser. Nobody uses it anyway.
Actually, it's the second most popular web browser. So
is it really?
Yeah. Hate to
Is
break
it
that.
because
Actually,
is it because of iOS then? Because I can't
either,
see on a Mac that, well, maybe people on a Mac use it too, but I just never touch it.
But it's not. I'm not saying I don't know. What I saw would indicate that it's more popular than Edge is.
Well, I would believe that Edge is late to the game on that, right?
Anybody on Windows is likely running Chrome. I run Edge. I'm fine with Edge. I'm not, because I don't use it, you know, day in, day out. Like if I'm using it day in, day out, I need it to be clean.
Right.
I need it to be straightforward. It does the job. I need it to look nice, run well. And Edge, you know, right now would annoy the hell out of me if I had to use it because of all the sidebar icons that they got. And I know you can turn off certain things, but it just there's a lot of visual clutter, you know, being baked into Edge. Very useful features, no doubt about that. But like, it's just a lot. Edge is getting very cluttery. And it's not very clean to me at all. Not clean. So I'll be interested.
Doesn't take long, right?
What's that?
To start building the clutter. Like they usually start in clean and then just becomes
I've got to be careful because I just popped up the see, you can see in the video recording, you see how I'm capturing it. I'm capturing the TLDR by doing a screen cap of the broadcast on Twitch because it was just the easiest way of doing it. And so when I moved the mouse cursor over a part of the window, then it went. I shouldn't have messed with anything. Lesson learned. But if anybody's even watching the archived broadcast at this point, yeah. So the security patch, but it's not. It does require a reboot. It says restart, so I'll have to reboot after.
And what it sounds to me is because it's an A after it as well, is that they didn't quite get the patch right the first time, and that's why it's came out again.
Yeah.
So they're just like, take two on that one, please. Do it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of like I don't want to be hard on them, so I'll say it's kind of understandable. They probably were up against the wall when they found out like whatever this big leak was with stuff, and it was pretty bad, that so they were under pressure to get a fix out, and so maybe they just didn't do enough testing, and now it's been out there, that patch, that they're like, still not quite right, so here's the other part of that fix of the fix.
Right.
Microsoft's done that lately too to us. I've done stuff where it's like, and they do what they call an out of band patch for servers,
right?
Because there's something that's so vulnerable that they got to patch it now, and then they'll push it out, and then you're just like, okay, and then you start testing it, and it's like, well, that really didn't fix anything. And then of course, like within 24 hours, and it's like, oh yeah, we meant to give you this one, not that build. and you can tell it's because the developers are scrambling to try to resolve the issue as soon as possible, so they're jumping the gun sometimes on it.
Yeah, everything I get, the most common updates are the Defender, Microsoft Defender.
Yeah, they should come in every day, those.
Constantly. Oh, sorry, I keep now that I've pointed it out, this is where I should not be using the PC while we're doing the stream. But the overlay, the Twitch overlay, when you hover over it, pops up, and it's not exactly a clean crop the way that I'm capturing. It's a much cleaner experience when you're watching live on your own volition, whether it's on a TV or laptop screen or phone, even if you watch on the phone. But that's honestly, that's about it I have for tonight. We're right around an hour too.
I got one little interesting thing to
mention
that I've been messing around with.
Yeah.
I had mentioned before, I had this old Mac from 2013 that was issued to me from work. At the time, I needed it to test a few applications with, because I used to support a lot of our in-house unified communications systems as well. I was the prime person on that for the infrastructure side of it, but they had several apps that came with the solution that we went with at the time that was Mac based, and we had some Mac users at the time that were especially VPs, right, that were using it. So they, you know, I needed it to have on the side to test a few things here and there. So that's how I ended up with that. But seeing it was just collecting dust at work, I just said, I'll take it home and mess around with it, because they'll probably turf it like whenever I give it back to them. But I was just curious to see what kind of life I could breathe back into it. So there is because basically it went out of support maybe 3 operating systems ago. I think Mojave, or maybe even before Mojave, was the last it would support on that hardware, and now it's like Apple won't do it anymore.
Right.
So I went ahead, and you can get this open source program called is it called OpenCore, I believe it's called.
Never heard.
And all it does is rewrite a little bit of the bootloader, the EFI bootloader, to trick it into thinking that it's a newer Mac than what it is. So you do that, you run the little program, and it rewrites that part of code in the bootloader. So then now it thinks it's like a newer Mac, and then it allowed me to put Ventura on it.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
I've never even heard of that.
And it takes all the updates. It just took this latest update here, you know.
Really?
So yeah. So the only caveat was for a little while with it, and I knew of this before because I've done it on older Macs before. So I'm why I'm bringing it up is because I've been asked a lot about, like, what can I do? Like, people are pinched for money and stuff, and they're like, well, I really need a new system. And I'm like, well, no, you have options, like to take some more, you know, get a little more time out of your system, and you want maybe something that's a little more up to date, or still getting or still at least please be still running an OS that you're getting patches if you're going to be on the internet, for crying out loud. Please be doing that. Right. Don't be on like a, you know, Windows 7 or something like that right now and browsing the internet.
Absolutely.
You're just asking for all kinds of problems. But so anyway, the one thing that it didn't have was because a lot of the newer Macs went with kind of a different type of video driver, and the Mac that I had at the time was just using the Intel, you know, the on the chip integrated graphics. So but recently they were able to grab a driver and write it so that it would work with the Mac. So now I kind of messed with that tonight, and I got that, so because it was jerky, right? Like I was not getting any 3D acceleration at all on it, right? So it was like, yeah, I can plug around with this, but it's not great to experience anymore on that Mac. So now that I've done that, perfect. I ran some specs before to see how well it was running before I did all this upgrade and everything, and to now. And well, technically, because the original Mac only had a spindle drive at the time in it, I had upgraded it to an SSD, so that gave all kinds of performance anyway. So, but it is running. Technically, it's running better than it did the day it was bought because of the SSD in it, right as we speak right now with the latest OS on it.
That doesn't surprise me.
So this thing is extremely usable. You know, of course, yeah, if you're going up against like one of your M1 or M2 chips now, and you're trying to do rendering Blender and something really heavy like that, of course there's going to be a little less on that, quite a bit, right? But as far as the day-to-day stuff with it, like, this thing is just snappy, everything. It's just like, this is like I just got a new Mac. So look at that. Hilarious. If you've got an older Mac kicking around, OpenCore, it'll do the job quite well for reviving, because a lot of people think, well, now I'm stuck on that, or now the OS is so old. Like in this case, the OS that can go on there just is not getting updates anymore, right? So technically this thing, you shouldn't be really going on the internet, or seeing as an Intel based computer, you could have turned it into straight Windows, or you could have turned it into straight Linux, which I played with both of those too and done that, but I still was like, well, it's a Mac. If you've got a Mac, you want to run a Mac, right? So,
and it seems like this was specifically made for the Hackintosh crowd.
Sort of at the time, but yet this isn't really creating, you know, getting PC parts and doing Hackintosh. Sure. So this runs way better because you're working with supported hardware on the OS. So the OS still knows about a lot of the Mac stuff on there, right? So in the end, I highly recommend if you got an older Mac kicking around, if it's a laptop and it's like as old as like a 2012, 2013 or something in that range, maybe even slightly older than that, you probably could still run Ventura as long as you got like enough RAM on it, and just put an SSD in it, make your life a lot better.
Yeah.
Don't be running old spindle drives. Just there, you can get ones for very cheap to do. I just recently done this with a couple of PCs as well. Now I had given to me an older a Dell little small desktop PC, and I upped the RAM on it because it was like something like 4 gigabytes or whatever, so I could get 16 gigs for very, very cheap because it's slower speed. Now it's like DDR3, and nobody's really buying DDR3 memory anymore. It's either 4 or 5 now. So I for less than $200, I was able to put in a decent little older video card and all that. But what I wanted to say on that is that with Windows 11, you know how you have the TPM chip and it's not supported on those chips and blah 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 whatever. They have quietly scaled that back a bit.
Oh.
They have in there where when you go to install, there's a process. When you go to install, you can run a quick registry key change during the installer, and it's just flipping a bit from 0 to a 1. And it was more meant for at the time because virtualization systems like VMware and stuff weren't quite ready for a virtual TPM chip. So they had that so that you could run that on a virtual hardware to kind of work with Windows 11 at the time, and also for labs with older equipment. But the thing is what they said is if you do that, we can't guarantee that we're going to continue to give you updates or whatever of that because you're circumventing it. Well, they never did stop doing that or whatever, and it is supported in that. But if you do that, you can put Windows 11 on older hardware that's not technically supported for the processor or because you don't have the latest TPM chip that supports it, right? So I put it on this thing. Windows 11 just flies along on it just fine. It takes all the latest updates today and everything as well.
Huh.
And it's not. It is a. It's not like you're hacking with any other third-party tool. It is legitimate registry keys that you need to change.
Right,
so there's a little bit of techie process to it to get it installed, but you can. And they don't promote it obviously because they do want you to kind of go and buy newer hardware and kind of go that way. And yes, technically you're not getting the benefits of the TPM chip safety, right? There are some, but I mean, if you're safe with it, it wasn't until Windows 11 that they put that down, and they're still supporting like Windows 10, right? And Windows 10 does not force you to have any of that.
Right.
So in the end, yes, you can also prolong your life of whatever older hardware that you thought you couldn't run Windows 11 on, you can. And if anybody's interested in those processes, I can do that as a little show sometime at a different time.
Yeah, it might be worth doing.
I can do it for the Mac and the other, just so people can see. You can look it up yourself. There's lots of different type of kind of people with videos, but it's a little bit, if I do it, I'll break it down step by step. This is what you do. This is what you do, right? Sometimes when people present it online, they do an awful lot of assumptions. It's like, no, you got to know that. I feel like when you present something, you got to present it to an audience that is not techie. They just need to be able to follow step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way through until. So,
I think it'd be worth doing.
Yeah, but it in this day and age and time, and if you're trying to save money because it's like this thing's crawling or whatever, one thing is like, are you still running a spindle drive in your old computer? Well, then put an SSD in, get that up to the speed. Your RAM, if it's an older system, it's probably pretty cheap to even triple the amount of RAM that's in it. And why not? If you're only running like integrated graphics, you can put in, somewhat of a little bit of better 3D accelerator card, and that will breathe all kinds of new life into an older system for a fraction of the cost. And if you already have it laying around and you have like a lot of those parts already, it's great. And you're running modern operating systems. That's the thing, right? If you're running the modern operating systems, you're getting all the patches and everything. So you can feel very much safe and secure as long as you're patching to be, having that system on the internet and actually using it. So anyway, that's all I want to really say on that. But it's they're doable things. And
I think you should do what you're thinking about doing. I think it could benefit a few people.
All right.
Quite a few.
I will. Maybe I can get to it next week. I won't be around tomorrow with overtime.
That's fine. Just
and
let
there's a couple
Glendon know.
things, and then the deck's going in on the weekend stuff. So my availability for the rest of the week's going to be a little bit spotty, but next week should be able to have a little more time to do something like that. So if you're interested, I mean, we'll do it anyway, and then you can have it in the VOD, and people can go back in it and whatever.
Yeah, all good.
But people ask all the time, should I be upgrading, whatever, and that. And I'm like, well, if you really are like, I get it. Like, times are tough with financial, with the way that things are up and that. And if you're maybe in the market for it and you really can't afford it and you think you need it or whatever, it's like, well, think again, because there may be some things you can do to just prolong the life of the equipment you have.
Yeah, I tend to forget about it. I mean, most of what I have are laptops that are never going to get upgraded, though. And
you can't really, other than a lot of them now, they won't even do the RAM or the SSD, like your new Macs.
And I'll turn on. Yeah, but see, the thing is, Apple's got a pretty decent trade-in program. They took, I felt like I mean, it was definitely older. I'm like, there's no way it's going to have any value. And it actually saved me hundreds of dollars. Yeah. That went right back to Apple. I mean, it was just like, well, I'm just going to be upgrading my Mac, so I'd have to sell it anyway. It was just easier to give it back to them than it would have been any other
I'm
way.
glad they're doing something like that.
Oh, me too. Big time.
Because it saves a lot of people throwing it in landfills, which is what Apple has been really kind of being the gold standard on. Like, here's the kind of parts that recyclable parts first, kind of thing, and now also providing a program, hey, we'll buy back your old stuff, give you a little bit of dollars towards your new stuff, and then we know that it's getting to the right place to get recycled properly too, right? I
just like knowing I can get some amount of value out of it that it otherwise, it's just like old phones. I'll just sell them. Like, I'm not going to hold on to them. Like, that's money back in my pocket that it gets spent forward on the next thing. And so it's just a cost of having the latest gen device is just, it's a cost of what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'll probably be upgrading the Pixel as well, the 7 Pro to the 8 when they release the 8. Like, whatever they're gonna roll out just to have the latest gen, if only to do an unboxing for it and to have it on the latest gen on. Same thing with the iPhone, right? I don't use it apart from how you see me using it. So theoretically, when the next iPhone's out, it's going to have potentially a different lens. Is anybody going to see the difference? I doubt it. Like, it's a potential law of diminishing returns, especially from the way that I happen to be using these devices. But it's a way of, I feel better having a live stream and using these cameras. But it leaves me right now with, I had a tablet for years. Working for Intel, I ran pretty much everything on this tablet, or a tablet, whether it was an iPad or an Android device. And now that I don't stream the same way as I used to, and it doesn't have a place anymore. And so I don't think I'm going to be upgrading this, and may end up turning around and selling this just because it's like, well, I have it is there, but it's not I can't figure out what to do with it. I have no place for it, or it has no place in what I'm doing at this stage. I've never been a core tablet user. It's a good system to carry around as an alternative, but it's just, like I say, I look at it as like, oh, it's just another system to keep up to date.
Yeah, so it's basically just a larger phone. So the other phone, it's a lot of ways it's redundant.
It is, but it isn't at the same time.
I mean, nowadays with the way that the OSs are, but at one time it was like that. And I know they're kind of forking, and they're a little bit different now.
And specifically the way Samsung does it, they do an elegant or more elegant job with Android on tablets than Google does with their devices at this stage. I was never really thrilled with. I was always happy with the screen, always happy enough with the software, but the keyboard, like the way that this case works with the keyboard is just it works, but not ain't anything to write home about. So I'm not, again, not having a use case for it on a very regular basis makes it very difficult for me to justify swapping it out, changing, upgrading, for whatever reason, one reason or another.
On that note, I'm very interested to know what the statistics would be from when Google brought out Chrome OS and started pumping out Chrome devices, right? And from where they are then and where they are now, because to me they've always been playing the long game with that one, right? Because everybody's like, well, why? It's not quite a laptop, you're only online, all that. But the smart thing is that they've been targeting a lot with, at least in my area, with a lot of schools, right? And you get that generation used to that type of, how this is how you compute to, everything's online, and this is just kind of an interface to that. And it's more of a dumber device and all that. And they're used to that operating system. Then the next, newer generations down the road will be more apt to wanting to buy like, a Chrome device to continue using Chrome OS, right? I just wonder how well that's worked for them. Like if it's still something, or if it's, it must be doing something, because Google is very noted for, if it ain't working, we're dropping it like a hot potato, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what their growth has been on that and the adaptation to that, right? And like I said, it looks like they've always been playing the long game with it to try to get people to adapt to it, and they've been keying in on schools and stuff, which is a smart thing to do. It's not going to play today well with going up against a Windows or Mac based computer, right? But if you get a younger generation of, this is how I use this device, and this is what it is, and I'm used to that OS, that's what made Windows so popular at the time. Businesses and that took to it, and then slowly the PC came home. And then everybody was like, well, I know it because I use it at work, so I want the same thing at home, right? Yep. And that made it very popular, right? So they're doing it the same way with schools and everything with that. So I'm wondering how well that growth is, and if that there is a younger generation of that all they use is Chrome OS, or is it not? Or if it's just, I use it at school, but at home I'm using this, right? Like, is it working for them or not? Like, is there going to be a long-term thing with that? Like, are we going to still see Chrome OS in the next
I think so. I mean, because
years?
they're doing, I think it's pretty much running, not maybe in lockstep as Google Chrome, but like still, like it's they're doing it in such a way that it has the benefit of being able to give them the opportunity to have a foothold elsewhere in whether it's enterprise or education. Like, but it makes, I feel better having a Chromebook to have the family use than I would giving a Mac or Windows machine. Budget really has less to do with it, more about what can go wrong. And what can go wrong, 99% of what people are going to do is going to be in the web browser anyway, apart from Android apps, which can run, again, mostly natively on Chrome OS. So yeah, it always depends. It depends. Hey, Glendon's joined us. Sorry.
Yeah, hey, Glendon.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Speaking on the Chrome OS and the Chromebooks, my daughter's in school. That's all she uses at school. She's accustomed to it, so she has one for home also. But I will say this, whenever it comes to anything other than schoolwork, she's on an iPad. Because that's just what she prefers.
Well, she's like Diana's using a Chromebook, so that gets used. But Jedi's primary system is an iPad. I don't know if she's ready. I don't know if she's old enough for a Chromebook. I almost guarantee she will get assigned, like, you need to run a Chrome OS system. When the school does that, I'm like, no. We're not going with the school Chromebook, because those are just going to be absolute trash. Like, I'll fork over whatever to get a functional one that's going to be, as long as that's possible, right? And let them manage it. Hopefully they'll have a BYO option rather than assigning.
At my kid's school, they do, because I
BYO?
had her bring. Yeah. I bought her one and she brings her own.
That's what I'm saying. So like I just assume get her something that's
and everything's saved in the cloud anyway.
exactly.
So,
So like I just assume her have the experience of Chrome OS. I mean, an iPad too, but the iPad, of course, is like the thing I love about the iPad is it is absolutely locked down. Like there's no effing around, right? It's just because you can't just say here's a computer, just do whatever the hell you want with it.
Yeah,
you can just cause so much damage, even if it's not on the actual system, like to network, to credentials, to anything and everything, right? It is just as dangerous as anything else. It's less dangerous, but it's still a tool that I feel that too many people don't treat with the amount of respect that it deserves, quite honestly.
Yeah, a lot of people that I know
treat it cavalier.
just absolutely cavalier because they're just like, oh, it's an Apple device, I'm safe.
Yeah, or it's Chrome OS, I'm safe. I'm like, you don't know.
No, that's a false sense of security you have there.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, so like you say, it's in schools. I know because Lisa works as an EA at schools, so in the school board here, and they're very much Chrome OS as well, right? It works well for that environment because they typically don't have a large tech department to begin with, and they're always overloaded. So the administrative overhead is way less for them. They can deploy them quick, right? There's nothing to do with them other than get them to sign in, and then boom, everything's there, right? So they're great that way. So kids will be used to them, obviously are using them, but they're not ready for workforce yet because we're still in a thing where we've got all kinds of like legacy stuff that will carry on, and that until you work for a company where all of their things are revolved around front ends that are web based, right? So that you can work in that, then only then will that work that way to being used Chrome OS today as it is. If Chrome OS is to kind of do something different. I mean, now there's like solutions around that too, virtualizing apps and putting it in the web, right? So there are ways around it, but
there are tons of ways. I mean, every once in a while Diana will run into a shortcoming, but I would say 99% of what she does, it's I would go as far as to say Chrome OS is overkill. Overkill. Now, my parents, I think they'd be fine with an iPad. Like, I think they'd be, well, my dad, maybe not so much. My dad's still like clinging to legacy. I'm not going to do this. I'm using Windows as a P. I'm like,
that's just because you're comfortable with it, right?
Yeah. But he says, and when I die, I'm like, oh God, last thing I want to deal with is a Windows machine when you die. Like, that's just not great. Why was dad doing this? And then all I'm going to do with those files is I'm going to put them in the cloud. So like, you're going to die. What are you going to get mad at me? Oh, you'll be dead. What do you care?
Yeah, it's my mom. She's just iPad all the way. My dad's a Windows computer, just like your dad.
Well, it just depends though. Like to me, the PC. I think dad would be better off with Mac OS. He's just used to Windows, but he's not using anything on Windows that couldn't be done on a Mac. Honestly, and I would go as far as to say couldn't be done in the cloud.
A lot of seniors, like both Lisa and my mom are both gone now, but we both have our dad still, and they're both fine. Lisa's dad uses an iPad a little bit, but mostly phone, and my dad's strictly phone. That's it.
Yeah, that's
all he needs for internet.
Phone is his primary
and data plan. He did have internet for a while, like right at his apartment there, but then he was like, you know what? No, what I've got for a data plan on the phone for what I look up and do and what I want to do on the internet. No, he was doing with streaming for a while, but he's just back into, he still likes the old legacy cable stuff, right? And okay, if that's what you want, or in that, it's just seems to be easy for him that way, and that's what he wants. But as far as his computing, that's it, and he's gotten very proficient with it and comfortable with it and everything like that. But there's people like that, especially in the older ages, right? It's like they'll use the phone and maybe a tablet if they're going to kind of expand it, but a lot of them don't even touch computers, right? I mean, they are computers. I'm sorry, but
it's more than enough for depending on what.
And it was very easy because they didn't have the word computer attached to it, because that's what I think with my dad for many years was computers attached to it, so it was not a threat, but just kind of scared. And I don't want to deal with this or learn that. But you know, when you start showing them this and you show them a couple gestures, and then it got very intuitive back when iOS was very intuitive. You
Yeah,
know,
back
and that,
then.
you know,
I
and it
remember.
was just like, you know, within a while, and then his confidence just boosted because he's like doing this and doing that. I'm like, Dad, you're checking email now. That's all you have to do. It's like, I didn't even have an email address. Like, there you go, right?
I think my dad was the same way with the iPhone.
Yeah,
I really, he wasn't drag kicking and spoon,
iOS did so much to bring in that generation. I know Android came in too, but iOS was the one that plowed the road for that one. It brought whatever generation of that generation was holding out. That just cut, because at that point they were like, this is a phone, you know, like they weren't, because it was computer. Computer, no. It's like, but this is a phone. Isn't that nice? And then you start with, look at I took a picture. I can take, and then here's my dad taking pictures now everywhere and sending stuff.
Yep, my dad's the
like
same
stuff
way.
I never thought I'd ever see him do. Right?
He didn't even switch to a smartphone until the last 6 months.
Yeah,
he had a flip phone and refused to come off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you don't know what you're missing. And I told him, I was like, you know, I'm sick of having to come up with different ways to transfer your pictures that you take.
They just get in the way.
Through 20 different formats and through 2 different ways to get them on the computer. And I'm like, you just need to, because he always just bitched about it. I just wish that there was a way that I could take pictures real quick. And I'm like, well, it's called a phone.
You're in your own
way. Your wife has one, and she is way more computer illiterate than you are, Dad. And if Mom can do it, then I know you can.
You know, I would never give my parents an Android device. My dad might be interested, but like, if it's working, if it ain't broken, don't fix. I just had Zach's a comment on the screen. And before I forget, welcome in the flying roll. My name's Chris. This is a 24/7 stream every night or every weeknight around 6 p.m. typically, although this Wednesday I won't be able to do it. We do what I call TLDR, the Locker Room Daily Report, talking about tech specifically. But in the off times, anybody's able to join and do something, whatever, like this. So it's interesting Zach's here, because this Thursday I'm planning on building a Lego set. I know I need to do, more Lego on a regular basis, but I'm going to be doing one of the Star Wars sets that I have. I think the Darth Vader from Kenobi I've had in box that I've been waiting, to do. But I got my I'm shifting gears hard here. I got my Lego May the 4th special. I didn't order a single set from Lego. I just ordered keychains. And did I get I did get one set. I got the minifigures, the Clone Trooper minifigure packs, the 501st minifigures packs. But I did not. I didn't get a set. I just got keychains because they were the cheapest thing, and I can get a lot of them. And I needed, to have extras like on hand, because every so often, like the keychain that I use, I have like a Stormtrooper minifigure. I've had a Vader minifigure. I got an Issaquah one this time, but I ordered, so it gets beat up and the legs just get really flexible. But I use the Lego because I've got a brick. I've got studs on the. I glued a brick to like a coat hanger or whatever, and so if I don't have it in my pocket, I'll like hang it up there, so it's always hanging, right, just like that. So I always have. That's the reason why I'm pretty much permanently going to be carrying a minifigure. So it's a good chance to kind of stock up. So I got an extra biker scout, so I'll use a biker scout, Ahsoka, an extra stormtrooper, a new Vader, because there's a new sculpt of Vader. But it all added up to what, 85, whatever I got. 85 was the minimum threshold to get the coin. The coin is the exclusive that I wanted most. Now, if you spend 150 for May the 4th, then you'd get the Death Star 2 set, which honestly was like, yeah, it's kind of neat, but I'm like, I'd rather save money on Amazon getting sets that I wanted than to get that exclusive set. I mean, it's neat. I'm sure I could have sold it for, way more than it might have been worth. But it was like, well, I don't want to deal with it. So I'd rather, if I'm going to be spending 150, I'd rather spend the extra getting sets on a.
Depends how you want to do it too, because I did go to the Lego site because it also gives you if you sign up for free, you get the VIP points if you start buying from there.
But
just depends on,
it
sometimes can take money off the sets. Yeah.
But that's the thing. I save way more money buying things on Amazon on the same things today.
I bought lots of Lego sets on Amazon over the Lego thing as well.
What's that?
I bought lots of sets on Amazon as well outside of the Lego website as well. Yeah, it's cheap. It can be cheaper.
And so I kind of like, well, the Lego VIP points used to be way easier to redeem too. Like, it's a pain in the ass the way they do it now. I'm not even sure I can do it the right way. But I just don't. I won't buy. I'd much rather have, like, for example, there's an Anakin, a Jedi starfighter for like, it's normally 30, it's like now 23, 22, whatever it is, and it's still full price on Lego.com. I'm like, well, why would I spend the extra $7 for the same set just to get a bonus that I may not want, or to get Lego VIP points that I'm only just going to turn around and use to get a discount? So Amazon is, in many ways, they need to do more. Lego needs to do way more with their VIP program to keep me, like, well, no, I'm not going to buy it on Amazon because X, Y, and Z. These are the reasons. So, yeah, that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Sorry, I did not mean to veer the course there, but when Zach, although I'm not sure, he may have left as quickly as he probably got busy with multitasking.
The one last thing I was going to say with that touchscreen thing, what's interesting is that, like, once he got comfortable with that, my dad with the phone and all that, it made his transition into the newer vehicles he buys now. Because he just bought another new vehicle again, and it's with the touchscreen, and like he knows the gestures and all that. And if he would have not had that and not went with learning the phone and all that, I think he would have had a lot more frustration with going and shopping for a new vehicle.
Well, but Zach brings up that point, and my parents are still on the 6 series phones. That's as old as they are. They get older by the year. Apple took the home button away, right? And his grandparents went apoplectic. And my dad was like, I don't understand why they have to. It's not, you'll get, just like you got used to this thing, you get used to it. Like, it's not horrible. So I don't know if or when my parents are going to upgrade their iPhones. They don't want to upgrade specifically because of that home button, and they'd have to go to mystery meat gestures.
Well, they're still pumping out the SE model though, right? And it still comes with the home
for the time being. Yeah, I think.
I don't know when they release them in the fall again this time, if they'll do another SE anymore or not, but there is a fairly new one that's using the iPhone 8 body, right? That has the basically the same.
Yeah, there's still a button.
Yeah,
there's still a button, but it's the 4.7, which would make my mom happy, but my dad's on a Plus, so he would not.
He likes the larger screen real estate. Yeah,
it's difficult to go from. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could go from a larger screen to something smaller. I tried a while ago. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm fine with what they used to call the phablet.
Isn't it funny through the years how that's been? Because remember when cell phones were the chunky monkeys, right? And then everybody was trying to beat out how small they can make a cell phone.
Right.
Like, and literally, I think there was a company called ClearNet. We had more cell phone services back in the day that were all starting up, and a buddy of mine got it, and he was literally holding on to it. Like, right? It was like almost like holding on to like those earpiece Bluetooth headsets. But it was his phone, and they were bragging with that one, like, oh, it's the world's smallest phone, fits in your pocket, can fit in your breast pocket up here if you have a shirt and all that sort of stuff. And now we went the other way. Now it's like, how big can we get it but it still fits in your pocket or whatever? And so it's like that trend changes through the years. Like, and a lot of that is just us blindly sheep following whatever they're marketing, because they'll push it hard, right? It's like, oh, we're smaller than the other one, and like people, I want something small that fits in my pocket. Now it's like, I want it bigger because they want this. Now I want the screen real estate, right? So it's like, I'm getting older now, and so now I've got an iPhone 14. I got work to spring for it. I didn't think he would, but he did. So I got one that's got a larger screen now. I was working with an 8 there just up till recently. So
give me the big screen. I'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although the foldables, that's where I draw the line. No, not yet. It's not there for me.
Yeah. But they get the guts in it and that, and maybe, because like I said, if they can make it where it's just, it replaces the iPad, then or a tablet, I should say, then and there will be I don't know if they've knocked that out or not. Like, it used to be still there's problems with creasing after a while. Like, is that getting better? Like, folding screens, like, that's not a thing anymore?
I think you're still gonna have a life to it, right? There's gonna be a limitation, but whether or not you actually hit that limitation over the duration of the time that you have the phone, that's a completely different question.
Eventually you'd think it'd have a crease in it that you can't get out.
I'm not there yet. I'm not. It's not enough for me to have that, and maybe I just haven't seen the software win that I'm expecting.
That's the only thing that I can see. Like I said, we were saying earlier, all good devices that take off is because they're solving some really good problems,
right.
And people are like, oh, I have to have it, right? Because it's solving a problem. I think that's maybe the only thing, is to be able to go from a smaller to larger screen and replace a tablet. I think that's where it has potential. But as for having dual screens and all that, like Microsoft with their Surface Duo, and they were going to do the Nano and they never did release it, but they're trying to do double screens and everything, and people are like, well, what kind of problem is that trying to solve? And it sucks when it's like, yeah, you can make it like 2 screens, but then you have the the hinges in the middle and everything like that, and so it just didn't sell. So
yeah, they were hoping.
Yeah.
They were hoping.
Kudos to them for being innovative, though. I always give kudos for any companies trying to innovate something, but they have to remember that they're trying to, if they really want it to skyrocket and people want it, is you've got to show them that you have a problem. Maybe it's a problem that you don't know you already have with.
Right.
And so then when they market it and come out and say, do you always do this? Do you always do that? Or this is and everybody's like, yeah. And it's like, well, this solves that problem. And it's like, everybody's like, you gotta have it then. Right?
At least they're trying to architect Windows such that it's approaching problems that way. At least that's the feel I get with the way Windows is being handled or managed as of late.
I guess they're making some pretty good strides with ARM too now.
Oh yeah, and they will continue to.
It's again,
can't ignore it.
I always say poor old Microsoft being asleep at the wheel all the time, right? They always seem to be trying to catch up with a lot of things. or they're slept too long at the wheel, and then when they decide to want to dabble in that space, they're behind. But Windows is a different story, right? Because a lot of people are rooted with that. Like, even any Mac users in that out there today, it's like, well, for every Mac user, there's like 20 PC users. That's just how it is, right? So,
and coming from Intel, yeah, I understand that. Like, the missing the boat. Like, that's, you want to talk about who missed the boat. Yeah, Intel, I think, is the poster child of missing the boat. Poster child. And I wish them well. I'm like, I certainly would love to be a part of something at some point in the future, but like, everybody
that kind of hurts my heart a little bit too, because I've been a loyal Intel person for years,
so many of us have.
years and years.
I know.
And I always liked them because of the fact that they always had spent so much money on R&D, right? And then you get, like, back in the day, like, it's different today, but AMD back in the day, and I think Cyrix was another one that was around. They just usually waited until Intel rolled off their product off the line, and then they would try and re-engineer it as best they could, right? Yeah. And that's not the case anymore. Which is great, because it forces each other to be very competitive, which for us, and then there's also more selection, right, between the two. So it tries to keep prices down as well for marketing, but also selection, and also forces them to not get stagnant with being innovative in that as well. But it's sad to hear that, that Intel's missing the boat on that.
Well, imagine how I felt losing the position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
hopefully they can, I mean, they're big enough yet that they can turn things around, but
I'm hopeful.
You know, they're not out yet, that's for sure, but
Oh, they got
there's certainly, you know, from what I hear, is lots of restructuring, right? And trying to figure it out
huge
now.
amounts.
When they really
Huge
should have been a
amount.
little bit more focused
Huge.
earlier on what's going on down the road a bit more.
Huge amounts. People got, I mean, I'm telling you, like pretty much my entire network, not exactly my entire, but a lot of them just got, that was it. I'm like, the people that I thought would be there forever, like bled blue, gone. I'm just like, what hope did I have? Like, that's not even imposter syndrome. That's just like, what hope did I have? So, I'm going to wrap it up officially. But of course, the conversation, is welcome to continue. I need to grab a bite to eat real quick. But I've got the 7 layout too. When Glendon joined, Glendon, I don't know if you don't have to roll through deals today. We can cover them tomorrow because we're pushing into a couple of hours. Not a big deal.
Yep.
Are you available tomorrow? Because tomorrow's Wednesday. I think we were talking.
It is Wednesday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So Thursday.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us said we weren't available tomorrow, right?
Why did I think the day was Monday?
I got OT tomorrow, and I think you had something going on, Glendon. And I think you said too.
Oh my God. That didn't even register.
I believe it's already Wednesday.
Derp. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you are watching the broadcast, the conversation will, of course, continue, but at least the recording is going to stop. And if you ever want to join us at any point, day or night, it's a 24/7 stream, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.pirillo.com.